Not. For more on this, let's bring in Florida Congressman Greg Steube. He's on the Select Subcommittee on the Weaponization of the Federal Government, and Congressman Steube has something to share. Congressman, welcome to the show. You have some exclusive news that you're going to break on tonight's show. Congressman, tell us about that.
Yeah, so you laid out a great case for a number of different crimes, and you laid the factual predicate for those crimes. And tomorrow I intend on filing impeachment resolution on Joe Biden for bribery, for extortion, obstruction of justice, fraud, financial involvement in drugs and prostitution. All of these things, you just touched on the highlights of some of those, but we have all the facts and evidence now. And in the beginning of this Congress, Republicans wanted to make sure that we did the investigations, that we got the information before the American people. You have witness testimony, you have financial records, you have the laptop, you have text messages, you have phone conversations, you have all of this evidence now to corroborate and support impeachment articles against the president. And I intend on filing those tomorrow on all of these corruption and bribery charges that you just hit the top of the iceberg on.
So, Congressman, your articles of impeachment against Joe Biden, for all the things you just mentioned, bribery, extortion, obstruction of justice, fraud, financial involvement in drugs and prostitution, and you're saying you have the receipts, you have the proof. Will these impeachment articles, when will they be released, Congressman?
They'll be filed tomorrow, so we'll do a press release with all the details. It's pages upon pages of all the different things that we have gathered as Republicans as the conference. You know, you had the investigation and Ways and Means on the IRS whistleblowers. That's part of it. You had oversight doing investigations and then making things public. You have weaponization doing things and making things public. You have a lot of different facts that are floating around out there. Facts that were corroborated by witnesses like Tony Bobolinsky, Devin Archer, all these different things. And we took all those things, put them together, and they all fit with all of these different federal crimes. And if it was anybody else, if it was a Republican member of Congress, we'd have been prosecuted a long time ago for these crimes. And there should not be a different standard of justice for the Biden family than there is for the rest of the country.
You know, I'm so glad you're breaking this on the show tonight. I hear from so many people, and I watch some of the other shows that are out there, you know, some of the more left-leaning, in my opinion, propaganda networks. But they just continue to try to tell their audience that there's no proof, there's no facts, it's baseless. What do you say to them?
Yeah, I say look at all the facts that just the IRS whistleblowers talked about as it related to Hunter Biden. In the Department of Justice, here's where the obstruction of justice comes in, where the Department of Justice wouldn't allow the whistleblowers to investigate the big guy, wouldn't allow for subpoenas, wouldn't allow for search warrants, wouldn't allow for the investigation into the big guy for his 10%. There is a litany of evidence here that there have been crimes that have been committed. And even if it was just to the family members and not Joe, that's still a crime. If my wife was getting millions of dollars from foreign governments, you don't think that's bribery or extortion, and that falls in line with us? But there was things that Grassley made public on the Senate side of the $5 million payment as it relates to Burisma in Ukraine. There is so much factual predicate for these articles of impeachment. And I'm hoping that Kevin McCarthy in the House will start the impeachment process when we get back after recess.
Well, and one more thing. Tell me about this. Tell me about the Hunter Act. You plan to introduce that tomorrow as well.
Yeah, the Hunter Act, which is helping understand narcotic traces at the executive residence. We need to get to the bottom of the fact that the Secret Service is covering for the first family. There's now been reporting that it was somebody within Joe Biden's orbit. We all know where this cocaine came from, and you can't tell me that the Secret Service doesn't know where that cocaine came from. I've been to the White House a number of times when Trump was president. The level of security you have to go through to get in, the only people that don't have to go through all of that security is the Biden family,
yeah,
the executive family,
yep.
And we need to get to the bottom of exactly where all that came from.
The
American people know where it came from, but I guess we're going to have to help them along the way.
We need the proof. Congressman Greg Steube, thank you so much for joining me today.
Anytime. Thanks for having me.
And friends, also today, a U.S. appeals court